Click record. Here we go. So it is time. It is TLA. I am your honored chaperone and support here today. And thank you everyone for being on time and being early. And I'm really excited and I'm really honored that Andrew gave me the privilege of running TLA for you all today because he was actually going to postpone it. He was like, we got our monthly session. So it's like, do we really need a weekly? I was like, hey, I'll do it. Um, I would love to share some thoughts from Mike before we dig into our agenda, and then I got some to-dos and whatnot. But uh, thoughts from Mike, real quick. I'm actually coming from the hospital with James, and I was trying to upload some photos so I could show you, where James is at. And but I unfortunately I had to get to the hospital in between the job fair to get home, and I wasn't able to upload some photos for you. But you could always check them out on the blog. But I've learned some crazy lessons over the course of this less than a year. It's been 8 months. For those of you who don't know the entire story, I'm not going to share the entire story with you, but Andrew talked a little bit about this last week about how much a lot can happen in a year. Okay. And the power of 1 year. Well, 1 year ago, my wife and we wanted to have a family. We were like, yeah, it would be really good. Lindsay was pregnant. We didn't know the complexity of what's going to happen. So James has been in the hospital. He was born 26 weeks. So normal for full term is 40 weeks. So that's 3.5 weeks early, 3.5 months early rather. And he was born at 1 pound, 4 ounces. So from the time James was born at 1 pound, 4 ounces, now 252 days later, he's now over 16 pounds. And the journey of James kind of growing and evolving and going through operations and surgeries and medicines and everything that he's had to go through, I've been just kind of witnessing as my wife and I are being as strong of parents as possible. Not a day goes by that I am not grateful for the Vector and Leadership Academy opportunity that I have to be able to have the wherewithal to show up for James so he can continue fighting. The doctor came in and said to my wife one of the best compliments that I think a doctor's probably ever given before. And she said, James is where he is right now, 50% because of him, but 50% because of you, and said that to my wife. My wife is also Vector trained. She has also gone through the Leadership Academy. She did run a district office with the company. She did sell almost $100,000 worth of Cutco. And Lindsay spends most of her days researching, learning, going through Facebook groups, asking questions, seeking knowledge. And it's amazing to think about how many of the lessons that we apply from this crazy knife job and what we learn in Leadership Academy from the books that we've read on being resourceful, and we apply that into our life. So in 1 year from now, I'm not talking about business. I'm talking, Parker, I have no clue where you're going to be in a year from now. Hopefully, I don't know if a part of the plan is to be a dad, but hopefully, not. Maybe you're a little too young for that. But the point I'm making is my crazy story that I've been going through with James and James's crazy story that he's going through. I don't know the 35-year-old version of you, but I could tell you what you do today matters. What you're doing right now matters. And a lot can happen that is very unpredictable. Unpredictable can happen. So here's my thoughts from the to tie a bow on thoughts from Mike, and then we'll go into open up for some discussion from each of you. A lot of our goals that we have today, eventually are going to create some problems and challenges later. Like the goals that you had 5 years ago, you might be experiencing those goals now. So what once was a goal is now a challenge that you're experiencing with that goal. Like our goal was to have a baby. Your goal right now to have $100,000 in your bank account, let's say in 5 years from now that you have the $100,000, now it's like, oh, I got to figure out how to invest it and all these problems and challenges with the market and understanding what to do and houses to buy. And I have all these rental properties now. And like all of today's or tomorrow's problems were once today's goals. Does everyone see that? Under that umbrella, I'm a big Tony Robbins fan, highly recommend you to watch Tony Robbins. And he says, imagine you woke up and you were running late. You were running late for the day. I think you guys can relate to that. You're right. You missed the alarms or whatever, you're running late. And now you're pissed. You're like, shit, I'm running late. And then you get in the car and you're driving down the highway. And as you're driving, your car breaks down. Now you're like, shit, I was running late and now my car breaks down. And then now you have another problem. Then you go to your cell phone and your cell phone is on 2%. You're like, shit, now I have another problem. And then as you are sitting there staring on the side of the road with 2% battery, running late to whatever you're running to, a car clips your door and your leg gets amputated. Now you have a new set of problems. So the original problem of waking up late now turned into a bigger problem, which is the car breaking down, to a problem to only having 2% battery on your phone, to a bigger problem, you don't have a leg anymore. So the point I'm making to you is the problem that you originally thought was the end of the world of missing the alarm, perspective is really important. The problems that you think you have right now, those big challenges, sometimes we need to be grateful for the small challenges, because the bigger challenges make the smaller challenges seem so much more insignificant. And just having the perspective of it can be so much worse. And what keeps my wife and I going, what could be so much worse than living in the hospital, is James not here. So many of us on this Zoom right now, the problems of finance, the problems of academics, the problems of relationships, the problems of you fill in the blank. It could be so much worse. So be grateful for the problems that you have right now. Because at some point in your life, the problems you currently have were probably a goal in the past. A goal to get into college, a goal to move out on your own, a goal to be independent, a goal to have a job where you could get paid what you're worth, a goal to be a person of influence, a goal to be in a relationship. So the problems you have right now were probably goals at one point. So thoughts for Mike. There's my 8-minute rant of thoughts for Mike to start our TLA today. We're here to teach you time, money, energy, and people and self-management in the Leadership Academy. We meet every Wednesday for 1 hour, once a week. It says text. You like that? All right, that was weird. All right, can't get rid of it. It's cool. So we meet for 1 hour a week, and then we meet once a month. Some of you are still trying to get into TLA. You got to get to 10K by Saturday. One of the things that Andrew talked about last week was what, where, and who. I changed it to what, why, and who for my session today, because Andrew talked a little bit about the decision train. And I really believe that we must answer the question why you're here, why you're doing this, why this is important for you, because that's going to tie into our lesson for situational leadership today. So before we go into our lesson, and then obviously we have some overview and logistics that we're going to review with you. We're going to talk a little bit about the calendar and such. I want to go right into our lesson. I want to go open it up for some discussion. Vector train moments. Last week we talked about the power of 1 year. We talked a little bit about goals. We talked a little bit about the decision train, and we got an introduction to situational leadership. I invited in the video for some vector train moments. Let's hear from you. Let's see what's happening in the chat. You could raise your virtual hand. I want to hear from you. Any light bulbs, any vector, either light bulbs from my 8-minute rant of thoughts for Mike, and or vector trained moments. Any things that took place during this last week, you're like, you know what? This happened. this took place, and because I'm vector trained, because I've learned what I've learned here, I was able to blank, whether that was during rush, if you're rushing for sorority or fraternity, whether it was during your academics, whether it's you're a new district manager, figuring out things on campus, whether you're, getting into the sales game, whether you're realizing some challenges and you're overcoming some of those challenges, whether you're, maybe some of you went to campus and you're starting to do active advertising, you're realizing some things about recruiting and enrolling people into your way of thinking. Maybe it's, just the self-awareness of, in the past when you got triggered, you didn't even know how to label it, and now it's like, oh, that's me getting triggered. I can separate from that emotion because I am not my emotions. Maybe there's something you learned during SC2 push that you're applying now. Maybe there's something you learned through your branch training that you're applying now. Maybe there's something that's taking place that you're applying now. So let's you could hit me up in the chat. You could also raise your hand. I'd love to spotlight. I'd love to get the conversation going here. So let's go to Alexis, and then we'll go to Eric, and then we'll go to Nick, and then I'll spotlight Gelsis to talk a little bit about what you posted in the chat as well.
Yeah, so I definitely had a vector train moment. It was last semester, and I had missed an exam. It actually happened to be a midterm because of just my own timing mistakes. And instead of just not taking the exam and just letting it go by, I actually emailed my professor. And because of the email I sent and with the support of Jessica Shanin, he actually didn't even make me retake the exam. He just gave me a B for the exam in its entirety. And I've actually had a few people use the same email, and they were able to retake their own exams as well.
Very cool. I love it. Resourcefulness with your COI. Also, willing to ask. Just the courage to ask. So many students wouldn't do that. So thanks for sharing. Let's go to Eric, Nick, Gelsis. Any other vector train moments, any TLA moments, anything that showed up for you that you'd like to share?
Something that showed up for me this past month or so, it's actually, I've been getting very plateauing at the gym. And I decided, I was like, you know what, I want to do something a lot more rigorous. So I actually signed myself up for CrossFit, but it was a little bit more of a monthly toll on my budgeting. And I actually remembered you, Mike, we were at SC1, I think it was SC1, and you were like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to sign up for this 10 grand parenting thing that you signed up for, because it's a circle of influence. And that's what I thought it was. If I want to be this person that I want to be, I need to do things that these people do. And I was like, what a better way than throwing myself in 6 a.m. classes with basically a bunch of adrenaline junkies just trying to sweat it out. So I've been going consistently 4 times a week for the past 3 weeks. It's been death, but I've been doing it.
Dude, I love that. I think, Eric, you just said some really great, I hope everyone caught what Eric just said. He said, I was a little bit nervous due to the expense or the investment or the expense, but he turned it into an investment so we could get a return on it. And just that mindset shift of it's not an expense. An expense is Chipotle, because you're literally going to eat it and then poop it out. It's gone forever, right? That's an expense. But an investment is something that gives you a return. I really love that. I really love that. And to your point about surrounding yourself around other people that are pushing themselves, I can't emphasize enough that group that I joined, that Front Row Dads. There's a dad in there that has a medically complex child that I've connected. So when we had to call 911 when James went to the hospital, and he was one of the people I called, because I was like, listen, nobody is going to be able to understand what I'm dealing with. So I called him, and he's in the community because I just met him. 20-minute conversation with him helped me tremendously. I've already got a return on that investment, because I don't know how I would have been able to show up if I didn't have counsel from someone who's already experienced what I am going through. And that in itself was fantastic. So excellent. Great share. Thank you for that, Eric. And kudos to you, man. I'm excited to see some of the sweaty selfies as well. So that's great. Let's go, Nick, and then we'll go Gelsis, and we'll bring up Parker. And you can hit us up in the chat. If you don't want to be spotlighted, you can at least hit us up in the chat with some things as well.
Yeah, so I know for me, it was just a great reminder that it could be a lot worse, right? Especially now that now fall's kicking off. It's kind of a new time of year, right? I'm thinking expenses of hiring, all this and that with the office. And I was thinking oh, how am I gonna do this and that, right? And I was like, wait, it was a lot worse before, Mike. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But it was a lot worse before, right? And it could go back to that point, or it could possibly be even worse, right? But where I'm at right now is like, I got to be grateful for where I'm at right now, because like we were saying as well, the goals we have today, right? Or the goals we had then, or whatever you're saying was,
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say. So
problems or what your yesterday's
yeah,
goal.
yes,
Yesterday's
exactly. So
Yeah.
It's just a great reminder. So thank you again.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Nick. And just so you know, you sent me a direct message. I don't know if you wanted to send that to everyone versus just me, just so you know. But thank you, Nick. I appreciate that. Let's go Genesis and then Parker.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to share that, well, with the quote that you had said, I really do agree that at some point, like, you're just always evolving and growing. And just what I wanted to add to that is that just, I think, goes hand in hand with the quote of life doesn't get easier, you just get better.
Mm.
Because the more things you learn, the more things you go through, like the stronger you get. And that's something that I relate to, because I feel like in my whole journey here with Cutco, I feel like I've gotten really comfortable with rejection. And it's something that I was able to see as a rep in demos, and it's something that I was able to see when I got promoted to being a district manager while still being in high school. Like, that was my goal, but then I had to deal with the school not letting me finish early, and my whole school told me that it was not possible. And that was my vector train moment, that I was like, anything you want to do is possible. And I made sure to go to like 6 of the other different schools to make sure I was able to find another solution. And when I had gone to like my very last school in my list, I was ready to like give up. And I sent Andrew like a little voice memo, kind of like crying, because I was like, I feel like everywhere I go, everybody just puts a wall in my head, in my face. But then I took 5 minutes, cried it out, and then I was like, I'm gonna go to one more school. And that's the school that pretty much gave me like the other option for me to finish school and also be able to take on the district manager opportunity. So that's where I was a moment that I was grateful that this job just pushes you to like move forward. Like, there's always a way to reach your goals no matter what.
So it's so refreshing to hear, because, everybody, whether it's Mason, who's been here for a little bit, I know Madison Zavril, this is round 2. I mean, if you think about the past, right? I mean, you think about the old version of you. One of the, I think Andrew might have said it, like one of the biggest, like, I don't know, probably regret would be a good word, is if you're in the exact same position right now that you were a year ago, right? Like, just mentally, emotionally, physically, just everything, where there's no lessons, there was no learning, there was all just a full complacency. And what Gelsis is sharing with you right now is this reflection of, it was tough. There were tough moments, but I'm glad I had people in my corner during those tough moments that I could reach out to and learn with and learn from and push me. And that's the power of what we have here with TLA. I mean, the Leadership Academy, you don't need me to sell you on it because you're here, but I do need to remind you that all of these individuals that are on here, the 31 of you, this is your crew. This is your network. And right now it's 10-80-10. 10% of you right now are getting your fucking teeth kicked in. You are having a shitty time. We'll call you in a valley. Right now, there's 10% of you in a valley right now. The 10% of you right now, you would love to not be on this Zoom, and you feel forced to be here by some reason that is being known, whatever the reason is, but you showed up. That's 10%. Then 10% of you are at a freaking peak right now. 10% of you are the ones that are probably sharing. You're like, I'm feeling pretty good. Like, I'm conquering some stuff. I'm learning some stuff, right? Things are pretty good right now. I'm owning this shit. And then the 80% of you in the middle are just, you're just like, you're learning, you're going through it. You feel good. You're just like open-minded and learning. And 10% is the high, 10% is the low, and 80% in the middle. And I promise you, every one of you are going to be in one of those 3 places at some point. So if you're in the high, what do you want to do? What Gelsis is saying is you want to reach down and grab the people that are in the low. If you're in the low, you want to reach up and grab the people in the high. And if you're in the middle, that's called your circle of influence, where you help each other continue to grow and evolve, right? So just something to keep in mind. When you're at the high, bring other people up. When you're at the low, extend that hand to ask for help. So thanks for the reminder, Gelsis. Let's go Parker and then Zoe, and then we'll kind of pivot a little bit here. And I got to bring up Miracle. Miracle was the last one. She shared some cool stuff there. So Parker, Zoe, and then we'll pivot.
Yeah, so everything we've talked about is really resonating with me. I'm definitely one of those people at the current moment that is in a extreme valley. I think just the past 3 weeks have just been really overwhelming, and what you were saying about, tomorrow's problems or today's goals. That's huge for me right now. I had this big goal that I wanted to move to Nashville, get out of Florida and do this. And now I'm here. And there are so many other issues that have arisen now. And especially applying for jobs and everything. But one thing that you talked about and that I have to keep reminding myself, especially right now and like this time that I think I'm struggling is keeping my eye on the why. And I think that that's something that I definitely learned it during the Alliance, and it's helped me out a lot. But especially right now when I'm not like mentally feeling the best, it's very hard for me to be present. I'm sure everyone else can attest to this when you're not feeling that great, but you can't really focus on whatever you're doing. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's working out, doing homework, whatever. So I have to keep reminding myself about why. Why am I doing every little thing that I do? Why am I on this Zoom? Why am I doing my homework? Why am I doing all these things? Because I think for at least the past like 2 weeks, I've been really just like putting things off and not really trying to do anything. It's because I lost track of my why. I lost track of what was really driving me, why I'm up here, why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. So I think that that's really important because it's like impossible to be present in anything you're doing without it.
Post I agree. Post I in the chat if you could agree with what Parker just said, that and I'm gonna have to post I in the chat too. Here's the thing, Parker. What you just said is why personal growth is so necessary, in my opinion. That's why it's one of the most important investments. You can invest in real estate, you can invest in the stock market, up to cryptocurrency. The best investment you can make is into personal growth and into yourself for that exact reason. And Parker, to your point, I posted I for that exact reason because I'm experiencing that too. If you know Mike well, right now it's a challenging season for Mike. It's a very challenging season for Mike. For reasons I've already mentioned, but what am I doing to get myself through it, not from it? I want to get from this valley. I don't want to just get through the valley. I want to get from this valley. This is where I can squeeze the juice out of it. I can get some good shit from this valley, right? I want to get some good stuff from here. So I'm going to share with you. I sent this to NLG. I shared it with a couple of people already, but this is something I'm doing, and maybe it could offer you advice. I just bought it. It was $500, and then they just called me today and they just upsold me again. So they got me for $1,000 so far. Okay. And it's actually coincidentally enough called the Game Changer Academy. And he's a friend of mine who runs it, but he's running businesses at a high level. His name is Peter Voog. And he has a program called 6 months to 6 figures. It's really cool. And he has this 2-page productivity plan. I've done this productivity plan dozens of times. I've taught this productivity plan probably even more. But I'm doing it again for myself, to your point, Parker, of what is your outcome? What are my values? What do you want? Why? Right here. See, why do you want those? Why do I want those things? What are the behaviors I need in order to obtain those? And then how can I break it down to winnable, simplistic actions? You probably can teach this, Parker. You probably can teach this as well from what you've learned in Vector. And I had to pay $500 for this. The point I'm making to you is I knew how to do it, but I wasn't going to do it if I didn't pay for it. So I would invite every one of you, Bia, Nick Franklin, Milena, I would encourage you to even write this question down. What is it that I need to do that I probably should pay for in order for me to start doing it? I had a conversation with a couple of you that stopped your coaching. You said, I don't want to spend any more money on coaching. That's fine. I've been there before. I don't want to spend any more money on coaching because it's an expense. So what is it that I should spend money on that I'm not, in order for me to get my shit together, in order for me to move forward, in order for me to get from this, not just through this? For Eric, he already shared, it was the fitness journey. For some of you, it's to get your sales where you want them to be. For some of you, it's to get your ass out of the fucking bed before the sun comes up. For some of you, maybe it's an evening routine. For some of you, it's just getting focused on your academics. For some of you, it's taking your business seriously. For some of you, it might be, I mean, you fill in the blank. But, you know, or it's just taking your TLA assignment seriously. Maybe for some of you, it should be joining a book club to hold you accountable to read a little bit. Parker, thank you so much for sharing. And, you know, I appreciate that. And I would invite all of you to go through an exercise similar to this, where, you know, where you could say, what is your 6-month outcome, or what is your outcome you want, right? What are they? Quantify them. Why do you want them? Why is that important to you? And then what are the activities that can get you there? This is not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen. Not rocket science. I think every one of you know the questions, but when's the last time you answered those questions? I would invite Charlie Dean to answer those questions. I would invite you to answer them and write them down and capture them today with this energy. I know that Alexis Gauss is like, Mike, we did this Your Best Year Ever workshop. I already know the answers. Great. You're a different person than you were when you did this. Do it again. Do it now. What are your goals? What are your purpose? Why do you want it? What are the actions that you need to take to get there? Thank you, Parker. Miracle, wrap up this segment before we pivot here. What's showing up for you? What would you share?
So I shared that I actually emailed all of my professors before the semester even started, just letting them know that like I'm a single mom and I'm going through this full-time college experience as a single mom. And it was definitely stepping out of my comfort zone because I'm young. I'm only 20 years old. And a lot of people kind of look at you different whenever you have a kid young. So I'm still adapting to the fact that I am a mom. I mean, I love my kid like crazy. She drives me crazy. But it's still a lot to still get used to, because a lot of my friends, they're not moms. They can go out, they could go party, they could do whatever. Speaking of the devil. And I mean, I don't live on campus either. So telling my professors that I'm a mom, I'm a little different from everybody. Gotta cut me some slack is hard.
Yeah.
It was really stepping out of my comfort zone. So
obviously, you know, what you just shared, 31 people on here, 30 of them, just because I'm the only one that has a kid, can't really relate to what it means to, you know, be the parent. And I can't relate to what it means to be a 20-year-old parent, nevertheless. So we, and I've shared this with you before, by you just showing up the way you show up is so inspiring, because you do what everyone else is doing, and in some cases better. So Miracle, what I want to give to you, and I just want to offer this to you, is it is very okay to ask for help. It is very okay to ask for a little bit of slack, because you're doing what everyone else is doing already and better. There are many people in our society that ask for slack and aren't deserving of it because they try to get as much as they can for as little. There's too many people that do that. I don't know if you know, I think you know this, I told you this, that you had more sales, more orders this summer than any other, I think anybody else that's in our division first year. You're the number one first year sales representative with the most orders placed this summer at 75. I think you had 74, 75 orders this summer around what you just shared with us. I could be mistaken. There might be somebody that's close. I know like Miles might be up there. Parker might be up there. I haven't looked at the exact report, but you're definitely top 3, top 5 with most orders placed around your circumstance. I think it's okay to ask for help. And I'm proud of you for doing that. Really. So it takes a lot of courage. So thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate all of you. And again, this circle is great because all of you are in similar boats, but yet you're in totally different circumstances as well. So let's go ahead and pivot here into our topic that is called situational leadership. So if you're taking some notes, Situational leadership is our topic that we're going to talk about, where Andrew introduced it to us last week. And I'm going to piggyback off of what he already talked about. I think you might want to take some screenshots of some of the slides that I'm going to show you. And we'll break off into a little bit of a discussion group. We'll put you in little small groups and be able to help you kind of think some of this through and talk it about with some of your peers. So this is not going to be a lecture. This is going to be more so you talking amongst yourselves, because I know many of you already understand a lot of this. So see where it says this little wave like ribbon thing is the leader. So this is the leader right here, and the boxes is the learner. So the learner are the boxes, the leader is this little ribbon here, okay? So what happens is in the box, see where it says, so in a box, or this, see where it says S2, that's D2. So D2 is the box, that's the behavior. So that person, this is probably, I'll zoom in just a smidge. Okay. This D2, where it says S2, D2, is the biggest trap that any person who sets a goal falls into. So I'm not going to talk to you about D1, D3, or D4. And the reason why I'm not going to talk about those is because, frankly, if you are working with anyone in those other three, it's easy. It's easy. How easy is it for Nick Franklin to work with Rhett when Rhett sells 10 grand worth of Cutco and is like, this is easy, man. This is easy. Because Rhett is in D1. It's like, if Rhett's in D1 selling Cutco, doing his thing, this is easy. Because D1, low competence, high commitment. I don't have to do much. But then when Rhett goes on vacation and realizes like, I got that $2,000 paycheck that came into the mail. I don't really feel like working anymore. Low commitment. That, my friends, is the hard part of leadership. Because once you get someone through D2, D3 becomes easy. D3 becomes easy again. That D3 is, that's like Miracle. It's easy for me to coach Miracle because she's in like a D3. How do I know she's in like a D3 when it comes to life? Is because she did 75 hard on her own. Miracle was waking up at 3:30 in the morning just so she could finish her workouts and do her 75 hard before while some of you were going to sleep. You were rolling in from Ivy, and she's finishing up. You're rolling in from Ivy and she's finishing up some of her 75 hard. You follow me? So the point I'm making to y'all is I don't need to really work that hard for a Miracle, right? So D3 is easy. D4, well, that's like me having to work with someone who's D4. They're probably now, that's like me trying to work with Andrew Evans and teaching Andrew Evans stuff. It's like, what? Or Andrew Evans teaching me stuff. It's like, nah, what the hell? We're already high competence, high commitment. We're already in it. Now we're just peers. And then we start back to D1 again when we start something new. So I'm not focusing on those. I'm focusing on D2. So let's go ahead and go into D2. I'm going to zoom in here. Okay, I'm going to zoom into D2 specifically right here. The D2 model is what needs to be discussed. And all of you we're going to break you up into discussion groups. We're going to talk a little bit about this because some of you are in D2 and you need to be aware of it. So D2, low to some competence and low commitment. So overwhelmed, confused, demotivated, demoralized, frustrated, disillusioned, discouraged, still learning, inconsistent, flashes of competence. So this is D2. Those are feelings of D2. And if you're not in D2 right now, you will get there. You are going to get there very soon. I promise you. And then when you get there, it's going to be like, congratulations, what took you so long? So this is D2. If any of you have any of these feelings, consistently. When I say a consistent feeling, like you go to bed, you wake up, you do something, and they come back to you. It's not like that you live there. It's not you live in frustration. It's that you can leave frustration, but somehow it keeps showing back up. It keeps showing back up that you check off all your to-do list, you feel good, and then all of a sudden you wake up the next day and you're back in overwhelm. It's like a new home, that like this new emotional home that just keeps showing up. And if it's consistently showing back up where you just can't shake it, you're in D2. You're in D2. Welcome. This is where, if you're a mountain climber hits what is called D2. And in D2 and mountain climbing is the point in time when you are climbing up the mountain and you start losing oxygen. And what happens is, this is where the largest suicide rate comes into play, where people literally walk off the cliff. So they'll walk off the cliff because they lose oxygen, they get disillusioned, and they walk off the cliff and commit suicide. So that's why if someone's climbing like Mount Everest, they'll have something called, does anybody know what the guide is called? Hit me up in the chat if you know what the guide is called. There's a guide when it comes to mountain climber, or like when it comes to mountain climbing. What is that guide called? Does anybody know what that guide is called? Him or her? It's someone who's already climbed the mountain before. You got it, Madison Z. It is a Sherpa. The Sherpa is someone who is already gone up to the peak, already went through disillusionment, didn't commit suicide, came on the other end several times over, and they're there to Sherpa you up the mountain. The only way to get out of D2 is through a Sherpa. You, write this down, you cannot solve a problem the same way you created it. You cannot solve a problem the same way you created it. So therefore, if you created D2, which you will, you cannot get out of D2 on your own. You can't, because you got stuck, like you're stuck. You need to get out of it. How do you get out of D2? How do you get out of D2? That's our question. That is the discussion question that you're going to talk about. What are the ways to get out of D2? Not just to get out of it, because here's one way to get out of it. It's called quitting, right? Commit suicide, jump off the cliff. That's one way to get out of D2. So a better question is not to get, how do you get out of D2? How do you get through D2 into D3? That's the question. How do I get through D2 into D3? This is not a vector thing. This is literally any time in life you are feeling stuck. Discussion question. How do I get through D2 into D3? And that could be helping somebody else or helping yourself. I'm going to put you in some small groups. Hit me up in the chat if you have any questions before I put you in these small groups. I'm going to put you in small groups of 3 or 4 for y'all to discuss this. Ready? Okay. You'll have a couple of minutes. What's the question? The question is, what are ways, strategies to get through D2 into D3 based upon what information you've learned or what you know? Ready? And enjoy the discussion. Okay, welcome back. So go ahead. Let's get some shares. What showed up? What'd you like? What came from the conversation? You could raise your blue hand, or I see a couple of actual hand raises. So let's see what came up. You could also hit us up in the chat, but blue hands would be appreciated. So go ahead, start us up. Let's go Miracle, then Parker, then Mason, then Parker, and let's get some others.
So please ignore her. She wants to get in her dresser. But what showed up for me was what, like I said before, asking for help. I mean, that's always something to get you out of a stuck situation.
Yes. Lyric agrees. That's what she's doing. She's practicing what you're teaching.
Oh yeah, she's saying please because she wants help.
That's right. That's right. Good. So can someone make a list of this and post it into the WhatsApp chat? Can somebody do that? Maybe type it out, post it for us. Who can do that? Cool. Thanks, Alexis. Cool. Let's go Mason then Parker.
Yeah, something that came up, and it was kind of a good reminder from when I was heavy D2, and I know you remember probably very, very clearly how heavy I was in D2. But it's all about kind of remembering, I think Parker said it earlier, remembering why you work so hard to earn a spot into TLA in the first place. Why'd you decide to bust your ass to the push? Why'd you decide to go all out in August? Why are you here? Not just like, oh, I have to be here because my manager said I got a call from 5 to 6 on Wednesdays. It's like, why are you here? And then also focusing on what sort of options you could set yourself up for next summer, whether it's here or outside of here. The things you're learning here could also set yourself up for that really cool internship, next summer. I remember, Justin Laurie he had sold $50,000 in my first branch. He went through TLA, used his skills, found another opportunity, and great, he took it. He felt it was better, it was more suited to his major. Good for him. But he at least went through TLA and set himself up for options. So I think that's what came up. And I would just make sure you're communicating with your people that you're close to, not just your direct manager, but anyone who is close to you or anyone in your circle of influence. Feel free to reach out to each other and get support from each other. It'll definitely help each other out.
That's great. So open up options, remember in your why. I love that. And by the way, Justin Laurie got a letter of recommendation from me for that internship, which is important. So keep doors open. Never leave this business on a bad term. It's stupid. Never burn a bridge for any business for that matter. So never burn a bridge. Let's go Parker, Nick, then Eric, and then Ramirez.
Yeah, so we were talking about kind of like that real versus feel scenario, and just kind of back to the decision train. I think a lot of times in D2, you let your emotions and everything that's going on in your head kind of drive whatever you're doing. So it's kind of back to that decision train of just go and do something, and don't let everything else kind of overwhelm you with should I be doing this, should I not? Just go and do something. And kind of to add on to that, like I think a lot of times we get bent out of shape with ourselves for going through the motions, but sometimes that's exactly what you need. Especially like for things like just getting back into the gym. Like you may not be having the best workouts of your life, but if you go through that motion of going to the gym every day, staying consistent with that, that's something that can help you get out of it too. And then kind of back to that asking for help thing, also just being resourceful. We have unlimited resources on hand pretty much at all times of the day. So as far as finding someone or asking for help, there is definitely a way to do it. You don't have to revert to, and also we talked about don't ask for help from someone that is going through the same thing. Go ask for help from someone that's already been through it, or is already got past that, kind of like the Sherpa we were talking about.
So important, right? Seeking counsel, not opinion. I would write that one down. Seek counsel, not opinion. Everyone can give you an opinion. But if they're in the same playing field as you, that's not what you need. You need counsel from someone who's already gone through what you're going through. Here's one caveat, Parker. The challenge that I would press back on is when someone's in D2, they don't want any of the shit that you're giving them. So all the stuff that Parker said is great. All the stuff that Mason said, everything that was said so far is great. Asking for help, remembering your why. These are the things that you can do while you're in D2. However, when someone's in D2, they don't fucking care. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to listen. They're right. Everyone else is wrong. I'd rather stay comfortable. Let me sulk. Like I'll figure it out. I'm stubborn. They go into conflict. So I'm curious from, if Nick or Eric or Anthony, if you guys have anything else, say what you want to say, but I'm also curious if you have something on how do you get out of your fucking head? How do you get unstuck? How do you be willing to learn? How do you get out of the I know it all mindset, right? Like that might be, if that's not mentioned, I'd like that to be mentioned too. Let's go Nick and then Eric and then Ramirez.
Yeah, so I've got I definitely have a couple of things on like how I personally was just like out of it because I know I was going through the trenches last year. It was pretty bad, and I know one of my big things for me was it was almost like situational, like just the situation I was in. I was kind of putting myself in the situation where I would just not want to work at all, and I had to kind of like take myself or like remove myself from that situation where a lot of things in my life are getting better. Another big thing I did, huh?
Environment.
Yeah, that's huge. And then I started putting myself around people like Jess and Anthony, Alexis, people that are working all the time and always uplifting, and people that want to give people a lot of positive energy. And then another really big thing for me, two really big things for me, was tiny actions daily. I think a lot of people forget that you're not just gonna like wake up one day and just be like, okay, I'm out of it, like I'm gonna feel good. It definitely takes a while. So doing those tiny actions daily just kind of like help a lot over time. And then another thing too is just like, oh geez, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I like to implement like the 3 or 5 second rule. I forgot what it is, but it's just like 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me do it. Like if I needed to make calls, like 1, 2, 3, let me just do it. Like I'm not gonna like sit here and wait around. If I need to like clean my room or something, just like 1, 2, 3. All right, I'm doing it. Like Great. Something like that, just like some small little thing like that, just to like push yourself to like you need to do something. I know for me, like starting like a morning routine where it was literally nothing except I would just wake up and make my bed. That was like huge for me. It was just like getting up and doing something to like start my day. That was like really big in like kind of helping myself get out of that stage. And then anyone like looking at from like a management standpoint, I know I wanted to ask Lindsay because she's been doing this for a while now, but she just said like from a management standpoint, you need to know like who you're talking to and like make sure you're asking the right questions. And that's some stuff we talked in our group about.
So you just unloaded a lot of good stuff. And Eric and Ramirez, if it's anything is overlapping, you don't have to say it, you can just pass. But if you have some new stuff, just for time's sake, but because that was really good. The change in the environment, I think that's really big. The tiny actions daily. I mean, I live by that. That's so important to make sure that you don't get overwhelmed by the big picture. Just start taking smaller ones, right? It's like, oh my God, I make 100 phone calls. No, can you make 5, right? Like just a small action. And then the last thing that Nick, you just said was the 5-second rule. 5-second rule is a great one. I would look into Mel Robbins. That's her TED talk. It's really fantastic. So thank you for that. Let's go Eric and then Ramirez, if there's anything new to add to the list. And then if somebody could type that out and put it into the WhatsApp chat, so it's captured on WhatsApp, that would be really appreciated. Thank you, Alexis, for capturing it here.
The only thing that popped up for me that I don't know if it was mentioned was, yeah, you have your goal, but you need a stronger why than enough. Like when you are in the trenches, it kind of reminds me of like when we do pushes, you need to find whys that will get you out of like in your head and stuff like that. So that on a daily basis almost. So I feel like when we're doing pushes, we like hit D2 in our pushes almost. But for me, it's something that like I've talked to Jess about. It's like the reason I stay here is because I don't want to live a mediocre life and I want to be able to live my dream life and give that life to my mom. So when I think about that, I also have my vision board. I'm like, that's why I'm still here. And that's why I push so hard, because I don't like that. Why is what gets me out of it. And sometimes, yeah, like back and forth.
Vision board. I feel it. I agree. I actually reset up my new home office a little bit. I put a swivel standing desk in the middle of my room so I could just rotate and show all my cool shit that's in my office. So trying some new stuff out, but I appreciate that. That's a great reminder. So I would add vision board to it. So remembering your why was already listed, but I do believe the vision board that you said is something that was new. And I also think getting emotionally connected to the why is also important, where it's not just remembering it intellectually, but emotionally connecting to the why. So let's say, for example, Bia is by the way, if you never heard Bia sing, holy shit, you got to hear this girl sing. Wow. She's got some pipes. So when Bia sings, if she just sings like, happy birthday to you, it's no problem. But then when this girl sings some gospel, woo-wee, she's the soul comes out, right? And she feels why she's singing. So it's like the emotional connection of why she's singing, right? So I think there is some merit to that. Thanks, Eric. Ramirez, anything else you want to add to that before I kind of wind up with just some action steps and some housekeeping?
Yeah, I'll make it quick because there's obviously been a lot of really good tips. One thing that helped me a big time, I never really told anyone when I was in D2, But it's just taking time to actually make relationships with the people that are on Zoom. It was a lot. I'm still friends with every single person that have been in my TLA classes the last 2 times I've done it. I can almost name probably all of them for you, but that would probably take a minute, you know. But definitely taking time to form relationships. I know it might be harder over Zoom, but we have these, use those. And then what you're saying, how to get out of your head. Honestly, the first thing that I thought of as soon as you said that was just doing things outside of work and school that make you happy, and really forming an appreciation for the opportunities that you have in front of you. Like, if you take advantage of the opportunity of being in TLA and realizing what it's doing for you, you know, it's unmatched. Like, you just have to let it help you, and you just put the work in, and it'll change your life.
So you said, I was literally waiting for someone to say it. Gratitude was the first thing I was meant, like getting like into gratitude is so critical. It's absolutely critical. I know another thing you said, where forget about work and school, but just like, because some of you might be in family or whatever, like just getting, you could say, change the environment. But I just created a whole new Facebook page called Off Self on Purpose. And if you, by the way, shameless plug or selfless plug, if you want to check out my new Facebook page, it's called Off Self on Purpose. I'm going to be putting a lot more content out there. I've been doing a lot of content during the last couple of months, just putting things together. But to your point, Ramirez, is that every time, like I'm talking every time I feel stuck, I give. Whether it's giving a sandwich, giving a compliment, a thank you card, some sort of gratitude is the best way for me to get unstuck. So that's great. Great reminders there. Well, what's really nice about this activity, did you guys like that? Was that helpful? Did you guys like this activity that we did today? Was this a good TLA prep for y'all? If you liked it, make sure you let Andrew Evans know. So maybe he'll give me a chance to run some more. If you didn't like it, then shut the F up. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, I'm just kidding, guys. Obviously I absolutely love, this is one of my favorite parts of the job of being a district, is to run TLA. So I love that I had the chance to run it for y'all today. Hopefully you got some value. I want to just wrap up our last 60 seconds here. I had some housekeeping that I have to cover. And unfortunately, my keynote, this is what it's showing on my screen. And I get the little pinwheel of death. So I can't show you all my slides, but luckily they're all the same slides from Andrew last week. So I just want to, ask for you all to make sure you have some things in your calendar. A couple of very small, simple housekeeping things. Saturday. So the information for Saturday will be on this Zoom. If your NLG is that's like going to be specifically for branches or those on the management track or interested in the management track, that's 10 to noon. And then for everyone is noon to 4. I would invite watch parties. I would invite, if you're away at school, like in Tallahassee, maybe do a watch party in Tallahassee, maybe a watch party in Gainesville with Lindsay and Deanna and anybody who's in Gainesville, or do a watch party in Tampa. I highly recommend to do a watch party for Saturday. I think it'll be a lot more enjoyable and engaging and fun. I can't pull up the agenda, but we'll send it out on WhatsApp. That's number one. Number two, if you have not submitted your assignments yet, please don't be that guy or girl. Like, just get them done. They're really simple. It'll take you 5 or 6 minutes. Make sure you email them or send them over on WhatsApp to me if you're in my organization. So that's your CVI, 5 level languages. There's going to be a whole discussion on CVI on Saturday. So please take your assessment beforehand so that that section that I'm going to run could be relevant to you. The next thing is the SLC push is coming up, and it starts next week. So the SLC push, Victoria Belofsky, she got some really awesome prizes last year for this push. And unfortunately, my whole computer is frozen now. So you all can still hear me though, right? Okay, good. So good thing Zoom is up, but my computer is frozen. So I can't even show you the prizes. So I'll post them up into the chat, but there's some sick prizes for just doing your job and for the SLC push. It starts next week on Thursday. So please make sure you put a plan together. I don't care what that plan is. I don't care how much you plan on selling, little or a lot. just put a plan together to market to your customers, to do your part, to get some free stuff, to step up a little bit. Can't emphasize enough the importance of it. If you want to go big, you sell 10K for the push, you win a signature set. So it's pretty good prize. Victoria Belaski won it last year for a 10K SLC push. So more information to come on Saturday on that. Everyone, I respect your time. Apologize for going a minute late. Again, please go to WhatsApp right now. Post your biggest takeaways, biggest light bulbs from today, your biggest takeaways that you like, so Andrew can see everything that we went over, everything that you learned. Post them into WhatsApp so he can see that. If it was good, if you liked it, awesome. Maybe he'll give me a chance to run more of these. If it wasn't good, then lie to him. And then you could tell him one-on-one. All right. So it was a pleasure.